welcome to NTD China News. I'm Karen Chang. Making headlines this Tuesday, March 19th. A high-level meeting between China and the US. Moves to rein in North Korean banks as part of UN sanctions. And a Chinese researcher at NASA arrested for suspected spy activities. The US and China, the world's first and second largest economy, have increasingly been butting heads. With new leadership in Beijing, both sides are remaining cautiously upbeat in the first high-level talks between the two countries.
Now that China's National People's Congress and a once-in-a-decade power transfer is complete, it's back to business. Xi Jinping, the head of the Communist Party, met with U.S. Treasury Secretary Jack Lew on Tuesday. It was Xi's first high-level meeting with a U.S. official in 6 months.
In the China-U.S. relationship, we have enormous shared interests, and of course, unavoidably, we have some differences.
Those differences have been highlighted in recent months. The new generation of communist leaders has categorically rejected any Western-style political system. Instead, they will once again work to protect the control of the Communist Party. U.S.-China relations have also been marred by mutual distrust. A shift in U.S. military outlook towards the Pacific has Beijing worried about encirclement. The U.S. is concerned over aggressive Chinese military hackers who have targeted U.S. government, business, and infrastructure. And, as always, a fundamentally different outlook on human rights has kept China and the U.S. locked in an impasse. Still, both Xi and Liu tried to remain upbeat during their meeting.
As the world's two largest economies, the United States and China have a special responsibility to maintain strong, stable, and sustained growth in the world. And we look forward to China contributing more and more to global demand.
Xi Jinping and Jack Lew's meeting comes just on the heels of a pledge by China's new premier Li Keqiang to develop, quote, a new type of relationship with U.S. President Barack Obama.
With stricter sanctions against North Korea in place, Japan, the US and China are going after the heart of Pyongyang's nuclear weapons program, its overseas banks. Sanctions are targeting North Korea's money supply, hoping to cut off the last remaining avenue it has to fund nuclear development.
China and Japan are going after a major North Korean bank, showing that the threat of a nuclear-armed rogue state is enough to make these two nations set aside their rivalries, at least for now.
Regarding the UN sanctions on North Korea that restrict its financial activities and transfer of people and goods, the government will take speedy actions in possible areas. Restriction targets will include North Korea's foreign trade bank, for example.
The U.S. Treasury Department said last week it would also take action against North Korea's foreign trade bank. It's the North's main foreign exchange institution and has a major role in funding its nuclear weapons program. After lengthy deliberations between the U.S. and China, the United Nations Security Council imposed stricter sanctions on North Korea on March 7th to reel their nuclear program. The Chinese regime, for its part, has reportedly applied pressure on North Korean banking institutions inside China. But earlier in March, South Korean newspaper Chosun Ilbo did an expose on several dozen accounts found in Chinese banks. They contain hundreds of millions of dollars worth of slush funds for North Korea's ruler Kim Jong-un. Technically, the slush funds were not part of the UN sanctions, and their discovery raised question over how effective the financial sanctions could be.
China's rubber-stamped Congress voted through the last round of work reports by various government organs on Sunday. While the National People's Congress always lets everything proposed by the Communist Party through, one work report drew an unusually high number of objections.
During his first address as premier on Sunday, Li Keqiang vowed to reform the rule of law under the Communist Party. The pledge came after 1/5 of officials at the rubber-stamp parliament rejected the work report by China's Supreme People's Court.
The judiciary should be the last line of defense of justice. Overall, the NPC representatives have expressed their disapproval of the judiciary and its level of corruption.
Out of almost 3,000 people who voted on the resolution, more than 600 objected. That's the highest number of no votes out of the 6 resolutions voted on during the day. On paper, China is ruled under a constitution and a comprehensive set of laws. But in practice, human rights activists say the reality is very different.
As a human rights lawyer, I understand how corrupt China's judiciary is. Wrongful rulings have become the norm. In the lower level courts, I'd say up to 90% of the judgments are illegally or wrongfully made.
China's internal security, police, prosecution, and judiciary organs are all controlled by the Political and Legislative Affairs Committee. Observers have blamed the unchecked expansion of the PLAC's power for degrading the rule of law and increasing amounts of human rights abuses over the past decade.
A Chinese NASA researcher was arrested on Saturday night as he was about to leave the U.S. The FBI intercepted Jiang on a plane at the Dallas International Airport just outside Washington, D.C. Jiang was a contractor at NASA's Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia. The U.S. Justice Department is accusing Jiang of lying to federal investigators about electronic devices he brought with him on his flight. U.S. lawmaker Frank Wolf has separately accused Jiang of being a Chinese spy. Jiang was found with flash drives, hard drives, and computers that may contain codes for missile imaging and other technology the Chinese regime has long been interested in. He appeared in federal court on Monday and will remain in custody until at least a detention hearing on Thursday. Hong Kong returned to Chinese rule back in 1997 and was supposed to have its freedoms preserved for 50 years after that. So why did a recent survey find that an overwhelming majority of Hong Kong residents would rather be back under British rule?
9 out of 10 Hong Kong residents say they would rather return to British rule, according to an online poll by local newspaper, the South China Morning Post. Last Thursday's survey underlines a growing frustration with the Chinese Communist Party's intervention in Hong Kong's affairs. The poll result is being called the inner wishes of Hong Kong residents.
Lots of people have said no to the CCP's United Front tactics and to its one country, two systems policy. So no matter whether Hong Kong will be voted to re-establish itself as a British colony or to declare its independence or to separately develop itself in the future, it will only be a reflection of the Hong Kong people's opposition to the CCP, a sort of resistance. They want to choose their own path. I think it was a very normal reaction.
Before Hong Kong's return to the mainland in 1997, the Chinese regime promised the former British colony a high degree of autonomy. This included allowing Hong Kong to keep its system of government for 50 years, but not everyone thinks this happened.
The universal suffrage it promised has been postponed again and again. Its content has also been changed. So many promises it made have now become lip service. In their daily lives, the Hong Kong people have come to discern the CCP's true face. They have understood that Hong Kong is now like a frog in warm water, gradually becoming a new colony under CCP rule.
Jiang believes Hong Kong residents are seeing a parallel with what happened to Tibet, and they don't like what they see.
The people of Hong Kong have realized that their original status, political rights, and real life have undergone tremendous changes. So they've awakened now that today's Tibet is Hong Kong's tomorrow. Tibet has undergone so much brutal persecution, which is intolerable to the Hong Kong people, I think.
Anti-Beijing sentiments rose sharply in Hong Kong last year after Liang Chunyin took over as the region's chief executive. His critics say he's a puppet of the Chinese regime and is allowing communist influences to move in on Hong Kong. On Monday, China's new leaders Xi Jinping and Li Keqiang endorsed the work of Liang and called for the Hong Kong public to support his administration.
And still ahead on NTD China News. China's Suntech defaults on $541 million debt payment. Forecasters called for snow in Beijing, but what was it that actually fell? And a star-studded lineup at the Asian Film Awards in Hong Kong. Hi and welcome back. The world's largest solar panel maker, located in China, has defaulted on a $541 million debt payment. Suntech Power Holding was due to make the payments on its bonds last Friday, but was unable to pay. The company owes payments to both Chinese and international lenders. Suntech's financial woes come as prices of solar panels fall. There is oversupply on the market right now, and Chinese manufacturers have been blamed for this. The US and Europe have filed trade suits against Chinese manufacturers for selling the panels below cost. They say the Chinese regime has been unfairly subsidizing companies, giving them an unfair advantage. Prior to the default, Suntech had reached an agreement with 60% of its creditors to defer the March 15th payment, but the remaining 40% is still outstanding. In a statement on Monday, the company says it's finding a way forward. The default means Suntech's creditors can now launch legal proceedings, but so far the company says it is not aware of any lawsuits. China's inbound foreign direct investment, or FDI, rose 6.3% in February compared to a year ago. The Ministry of Commerce announced today that it amounted to $8.2 billion last month. While the amount increased from a year ago, it came in lower than January's figure by about $1 billion. Across January and February, inbound FDI dropped by about 1.3% from a year ago. Ministry of Commerce spokesman said he was cautious about predicting the future based on last 2 months' figures. He said further observation of the market is needed. Compared to February last year, investment from Europe increased over 34%, but the amount from the US dropped 5.37%. While China's inward FDI increased year on year, it was nowhere near the growth of its investment overseas. Outbound FDI skyrocketed since last year by 147.3%. Between January and February, the figure came in at $18.39 billion. Pollution has gotten so bad in Beijing that now mud is literally falling from the sky. You've heard of raining cats and dogs. Well, now it looks like the rest of the backyard is coming down as well.
It will be the saddest snowman in history. Beijing was hit by a mud snowstorm yesterday. Particulate matter from Beijing's heavy pollution stuck to the falling snow crystals, and this is the end result: mud snow. As it melted, the entire city was coated with muddy yellow water stains. Cars looked like they had spent the day off-roading. Netizens were none too pleased either. Chinese actress Hai Qing said, in the future, the forecast should just say there will be moderate to heavy mud instead. This isn't the first time either. Beijing is periodically hit with these mudstorms. The city has become one of the most polluted in the world, with fumes and smoke billowing from cars and factories. However, the Beijing Mud Wrestling Federation has had no complaints.
Last night, some familiar names and faces walked the red carpet in Hong Kong. The 7th Annual Asian Film Awards saw celebrities and movie producers from around the globe. Who took away the top prize? Let's find out.
A star-studded lineup at Hong Kong's Asian Film Festival Awards on Monday evening. Michelle Yeoh, best known for her part in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, won a career-long award for excellence in Asian cinema.
I think it's the culture, it's this whole place. I don't really see ourselves as Asian filmmakers. We are really world-class filmmakers. So, I think what it is that whenever people get together for the love of the same thing, that's already something very special.
The Best Film Award went to a mainland Chinese thriller, Mystery, which was directed by Luo Ye.
The secret of our success is teamwork. Everybody was working together to make this feasible.
Starring in Luo Ye's film Mystery was Qi Shi. She walked away with the title of Best Newcomer. The Best Acting Awards went to Filipino actors Eddie Garcia for his role in Bua Kao and Nora Allner for her role in Thai Womb. Eddie said that even after years of being an actor, he wasn't a finished product.
Well, I've been in cinema for the past 64 years. I started in 1949. So all these years, I've been honing my skill, because acting, you have to learn it every day, even if you've been at it for a long time. There's always room for learning.
The Iranian and Turkish movie Rhino Season swept up Best Cinematography, Production Design, and Visual Effects. Rhino Season's director Farbar Khosh Tinat said this was his greatest achievement yet. This won't be all for Hong Kong's film scene though. The Hong Kong's International Film Festival kicked off on Sunday and will show over 300 films before ending on April 2nd.
And that's all for this broadcast of NTD China News. For more about China-related content, visit our website at ntd.tv or subscribe to our YouTube channel NTD on China. Coming up next is China Focus with Shirley Jiang. Stay tuned.